sponsored by the Digama Group.
Hello, welcome to Rumbo Minero. A server Cesar Campos. In this opportunity, accompanied by Miguel Zabala, we are in charge of the conduction of this program. Miguel, how are you?
How are you, Cesar? How are you? A pleasure to join you today.
Of course, we are very saddened, and we express our solidarity with the families of these 9 people murdered by criminal groups in Patas, in the Poderosa mining unit by international criminal organizations, and those involved in illegal mining, which, as we always emphasize in the program, must be separated from artisanal and even informal mining, which is on the way to formalization. This has been terrible, Miguel, and I think it is necessary to give a very transversal approach to the subject.
Definitely, and well, we hope that the government will act definitively and with a firm hand to eradicate once and for all this illegal mining, which is already bordering on criminality, delinquency, and even drug trafficking.
Indeed, that is why we have decided to invite on this occasion to talk about this important issue, Guillermo Shinno. He has been Vice Minister of Mines, but he is also the General Manager of the Apumayo mining unit, which in October last year suffered an attack, a barbaric attack by criminal organizations. We also have other guests. Miguel.
That's right. This Cesar, we will also have the presence of Iván Arenas, political analyst and specialist in communication and mining, and also Wilson Gómez Barrios, founder of the National Society of Security Companies, with whom we will discuss the issue of illegal mining, violence, and crime.
And safety, of course. Let's go immediately to Gabriela Chicoma to know the main mining news of the week.
These are the main mining news of the week. The Integral Mining Formalization Registry, REINFO, has been questioned because it is not fulfilling its function in a comprehensive manner and would strengthen the activity of criminal gangs engaged in illegal mining. All this after the attack suffered by Compañía Minera Poderosa in Patas, La Libertad. The blocking of highways will be punished with up to 15 years in prison for those who collaborate with the agents of the crime of rioting. This was announced by the President of the Council of Ministers, Alberto Otárola, in a press conference, where he informed that the PCM modified the penal code to guarantee security and public tranquility. The Ministry of Energy and Mines, MINEM, through Supreme Decree 282,023 EM, issued measures to simplify the environmental certification and water use permits required for mining exploration. This activity is considered the fundamental pillar on which the sustainability of the mining activity rests.
Thank you very much to Gabriela Chicoma for the main mining news of the week. As we had announced, we are joined on this occasion by Engineer Guillermo Shinno, former Vice Minister of Mines and General Manager of the Apumayo mining unit, also affected by acts of violence, which at the time we denounced here in the program Rumbo Minero. Guillermo, it is always a pleasure to receive you, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation. Good morning.
The context is what we have explained, the acts of violence that occurred in Patas at the Poderosa mining unit, with a total of 9 dead. Previously, there have been another 7. Thus, 16 people have died as a result of this combination of illegal mining and apparently the Tren de Aragua, this international organized crime that has already entered our territory. What is your reading of the issue, and what is it that you claim as a position for the state to take on this situation?
As you have stated so well, Cesar, organized crime has indeed already entered the mining industry. That is at the artisanal level. But this side, on the side of those who are illegal, I always separate the illegal,
yes,
which unfortunately is the majority, right, versus those artisanal workers who do want to formalize. They do their work on a small scale, and we have to help them, right? But the illegal ones are the ones who are taking much of this control. And now to support with this high criminality, with mafias already behind it, isn't it? There is definitely a lack of more strategy, more intelligence to see how to detect these criminal gangs' incursions at an early stage. And above all, strategy on how to face them or how to prevent them. It has to be a preventive task. That is, it is not that I have always said in social conflicts and now in these criminal issues. It is not that this is done overnight. It is planned with time. And that is what we are missing to be able to detect them early.
Well, after the statements made by President Dina Boluarte, where she says that they are going to see how to formalize these AAA miners, I find these statements unfortunate because they show a lack of knowledge of what informal mining is or how it is managed in our country. Do you think it is possible to formalize these informal groups that already border on criminality, delinquency? Or we are already talking about having a fight or a strategy that is a little more advanced, even of an armed type, one could say.
It is precisely this group, the ones I consider illegal miners, that I consider to be, we do not have to formalize them, we simply have to fight them. We are already talking about organized gangs that must be combated, right? Different from those who are artisanal miners, who work on a small scale, that we have to help them in their formalization. We have to separate it. What is announced, what has been announced by the executive, that is to say, the announcement is always, it has to be reviewed, but it is a very complex task. And what we do not see so far is the strategy on how to do it, how to effectively achieve that separation, how to help some and fight the others.
This week, precisely, Guillermo, representatives of the National Society of Mining, Petroleum and Energy, the head of CONFIEP, Alfonso Bustamante Cani, a representative also from COMEX, as well as from the SMEs, called a press conference where a truism is already being spoken, which also belies the irritating sensation that the Minister of Economy left us with in the last version of CADE, when he said that there is a kind of absurd pessimism. These things definitely discourage investments, and statistics have been given in this press conference. Concepts and statements have been made that are very important. So we are already in the line of understanding that private investment, national and international, is also discouraged by these issues of insecurity.
And especially in a context in which we no longer have large mining projects in the short, I would say, even in the medium term.
Except for a couple of others, which could be Safranal and another one. And what we have are brownfields with Antamina. So in this context, there are not going to be large mining investments. This one is not well.
Or rather, the bad signals that are given in the face of these criminal acts, bureaucracy, transmissiveness, social conflicts, that, let's say, the country's image is affected, especially the investors who see it. The most attractive plus, however, is its geological potential. The issue of conflicts and all those topics we are talking about make them doubt whether they will allow.
Okay, you are right to mention the new projects, but I am thinking that also in the replacement investments, that is to say, to keep active the brownfields effectively, they are also put at risk, because in any case, in these moments that we do not have big ones in sight, so that it is encouraging to invest there. At least the replacement investment should generate an important flow within mining, and that is also at risk.
Well, at risk are the investments, the expansions, or those that do not expand and are in full operation and want to somehow stop production, right? We have suffered it in Apumayo, in October 2021, that is, as well as we have tried in other operations as well, to try to paralyze their operations, and that affects the economy of the country.
Affects the country in general, and above all, affects its image in the international community.
Guillermo, the mining formalization process in our country has definitely failed, and the issue of Congress has a lot to do with that. And that this failure by extending the rainfall registration dates by up to 4 extensions, right? And that this gives a place to a major formalization provides a cloak of legality, doesn't it? So that illegal mining can continue to work with impunity. What should now be the measures to be taken with respect to rainfall, which, well, the executive has already said that it will review, that it will, we are going to see what it does, but what is your opinion regarding the rainfall issue?
Again, it is a complex process. That is, the issue is not easy, let's say, to see how to formalize the artisanal miners, right? I would start by trying to separate, already, if the rainfall was open, they signed up, we have to start auditing, verifying who are those who have effectively requested the rainfall and who are artisanal miners, and work under that scale. And find those who have ordered a rainfall only, either to market the registry,
either because le da,
in quotation marks, this, freedom to engage in illicit activities. I start to detect it and fight it. I start to separate. But for it to be effective, because as long as I don't manage to formalize those who really need to be helped, because we are not making much progress, and because we are not making much progress, it is because of, again, the issue of artisanal and bureaucracy, noodle maker, who for him is a subsistence noodle maker, is not going to be required to have geological studies, these plans certified by engineers. That costs him several thousand sols or dollars. He does not have the capacity to be able to advance in that process of formalization. Although the permission of the concession holder must be requested, but the rest should be, from my point of view, to the one who does purely handicraft activity. I am not talking about the rest. To them, there is, with a simple affidavit that commits not to pollute, not to do such and such a thing, and we have to supervise them and we have to be there in the area.
Finally, it is good to update this memory that you have mentioned of what was suffered by the company that you manage, the Apumayo mining unit, in October 2021, because we must also remember the disastrous protagonism we have had in Peru, such as that of Mrs. Mirta Vasquez, who at that time was the head of the Council of Minas Gerais, of the Council of Ministers, who went so far as to point out that there was nothing left for Apumayo to do but to implement a mine closure program with an ignorance not only supine of what a mine closure program is.
Not only to Apumayo, to all mining operations.
No, yes,
in southern
also the
Ayacucho.
others that had been affected, but concentrating a little on what you yourself suffered. That is not the attitude of the current government. It must be recognized. It gives the impression that they rather want to achieve greater mining investment. There is a commitment from the President of the Council of Ministers, Alberto Otarola. What is missing, apart from the security issue, to close this circle of identity with the protection of mining units?
I agree with you, and we are in agreement that this government does indeed have a vocation. There are announcements. They want to do things. And from my point of view, it seems that they do not have the strategy. They do not know how to advance in each of these steps. And it is not simple. That is, I understand them. That is, I have been there. It is not easy to separate this illegal mining from from the informal mining. It is not easy to resolve conflicts. This one, mining conflicts. And well, under the political instability that the country is constantly experiencing, it is not so simple. But we have to take even the first steps. We have to put together a strategy and start taking the first steps. What are we not seeing?
Of course you can. Thank you very much, Guillermo, for being with us. It is always a pleasure to listen to you, and especially that you can guide our audience. We will have you in the next opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Guillermo Shinno, former Vice Minister of Mines and current General Manager of the Apumayo Mining Unit, was with us here on Rumbo Minero. Gabriela Chicoma, you have an announcement to make.
Thank you very much.
Expo Mina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of 2024, with 16 years of trajectory. With the special participation of the United States as a guest mining country. Expo Mina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the U.S. Department of Commerce. Don't be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your booth at Expo Mina Peru.
For more information, please visit our website, www.expominaperu.com. Well, we enter a long-awaited segment in Rumbo Minero, the international block American Mining, which, as always, has the notable participation of our dear friend José Gonzáles, economic analyst for CNN and also international editor of our magazine Rumbo Minero. José, always a pleasure, and thank God to have you here.
Nice to meet you, Cesar. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Jose, we are going to address in principle a topic that we also dealt with in Peru mining business, and with a very outstanding participation, by the way, of Luisa Palacios on environmental control and COP28, which started this week and ends next Tuesday, i.e. this 28th meeting of the working group on the environment created by the United Nations, whose central theme is decarbonization. And what do we expect in Tuesday's conclusions? Of course, to have some clarifications, because the balance is still not very good regarding the achievements obtained by the COPs. What do you have to say about this?
It has been an extraordinary COP, Cesar, to the extent that there has never been so much attention. 28 years of COPs, and this is the COP that has had the most attention. 79,000 participants, 170 countries, 2,400 delegates, 2,300 journalists, 1,300 lobbyists from the oil sector, 3 times more than last year. What is happening at the COP? It is being discussed at this time. As you say, next Tuesday, the COP conclusion document will be issued. And the good news is that there is an agreement to decarbonize the country. This trend that existed in the past, that global warming did not exist, is now recognized by carbon emissions, is that it has been the hottest year in human history and must be decarbonized. But the discussion is between the interests represented by the International Energy Agency and the United Nations, and those represented by OPEC and the oil producers, including the United States. Vice President Kamala Harris has been at the COP for the entire duration of the 10-day conference. And that is how you decarbonize. The United Nations and the International Energy Agency say you have to reduce the use of fossil fuels. And oil interests say you have to reduce the use of fossil fuels. Decarbonizing the use of fossil fuels. What is happening is that the technology that decarbonizes use has not been practiced on a large scale. And the president of the COP, the Arab Sultan, has said that there is no scientific basis for carbon emissions, and there has been an uproar, as they say in Venezuela. The good thing is that in the conclusion, they will reach agreements. The final document is eagerly awaited. For the first time, there is talk of decarbonization and reduction of fossil fuels. And one or the other option is positive for critical minerals, particularly for Peru. In terms of copper, which as we have said in the past, is the base mineral of the energy transition.
Jose, on the other hand, gold prices this week have surpassed an annual record in 2023, exceeding $200 per ounce, with the expectation that prices will continue to rise in the short and medium term. What is generating this demand for gold, and is it sustainable over time?
Contrary to what had happened in the recent past, Miguel, that gold did not go up. After having reached a record high of 2,055 early in the year, we passed 2,100, and it has remained at those levels. The financial markets are convinced that the Federal Reserve is going to lower interest rates next year. There has been a raid on treasury bonds and a raid on gold and on Bitcoin, which behaves somewhat like gold.
The central banks, they continue to buy gold in substantial quantities of 24% or so of the demand, and that is maintaining levels.
And the argument between the gold fanatics who say it's going to 2,200 or more and those who think there could be a pullback goes on. If the Fed doesn't lower interest rates, the Fed has given no indication that it will lower them, but the market has become convinced of such a thing. Gold could go back down again by levels below $2,000 an ounce.
Two very important topics, and thank you very much, José Gonzáles, for commenting here in Rumbo Minero. We are leaving again this week for New York. We will make the next links from this city, the city that never sleeps, as they call the United States of America, and we are not going to sleep either, about the importance and the way to highlight these important issues. Important topics, friends, you will find in the magazine Rumbo Minero, which you can also download from our webpage, www.rumbominero.com, if you wish to purchase it physically. There you will find, of course, the wise comments always made or written by our international editor, José Gonzáles, and also other personalities involved in the mining sector, Miguel.
That's right, Cesar. It's time to pass to the block of the Institute of Mining Engineers of Peru.
The International Congress of Prospectors and Explorers, ProExplo,
is the second most important mining event in the country and the most relevant in terms of exploration and geology in Latin America.
The importance of exploration lies in the fundamental role it plays in the discovery and establishment of new mining projects. For this reason, ProExplo is a mandatory meeting for companies and professionals working in the sector. In its most recent edition, more than 3,000 people participated physically and virtually, and its 14th edition is expected to be held in 2025 under the chairmanship of its president, Walter Tejada. We look forward to seeing you at ProExplo 2025.
At the international level, the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers has continued its role of disseminating the country's mining potential in various international forums, tales como la Society for Mining, Metallurgy and Exploration,
la Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, o el World Mining Congress.
In addition, since 2019, we were incorporated as members of the International Council on Mining and Metals and hosted the 100th meeting of the International Organizing Committee of the World Mining Congress. We are currently preparing to host the 27th edition of the World Mining Congress to be held in our country in 2026.
Perumin is the leading mining convention in Latin America and the world that brings together the most prominent leaders in the global mining sector. Government representatives, investors, researchers, and multiple professionals linked to this industry. For 70 years, our institute has been organizing this great event for 70 years, where the challenges and opportunities of mining are analyzed. In its last edition, Peruvian 36 brought together more than 65,000 visitors from 56 countries and 23 regions of Peru, which turned Arequipa into the mining capital of the world. The next edition of the mining convention will be chaired by Jimena Sologuren. We look forward to seeing you at Peruvian 37.
Well, in the central interview of our program, Rumbo Minero, we are pleased to present two distinguished guests and experts in safety and monitoring issues in addition to mining units. We are talking about Wilson Gómez Barrios, founder of the National Society of Security Companies, and from our dear and always well-considered friend, Iván Arenas, political analyst and specialist in communication and mining. To both of you, thank you very much for being with us, Wilson and Ivan. Let's start with Wilson. Given the extensive experience that you have in looking at these kinds of situations that arise and how they are fostered on two sides, of course, there is an encouragement from illegal action, from drug trafficking, the presence now of the Aragua train, and in parallel, also what you have experienced firsthand. Sometimes the political encouragement, let's put it in quotation marks, of direct actions against prosperity and the objectives that the mining units set for themselves. How have you felt? How do you feel about what happened in Patas and the Unidad Minera Poderosa?
Well, thank you first for inviting me, and I'm really sorry about what has happened because there were a lot of previous warnings. Even the mining company itself was already issuing communiques saying that there was a possibility that this could happen. But actually, this problem occurs throughout the country. This has happened now in Patas, but remember what happened in Caraveli. They shot at each other, 17 died. And the same thing is happening all over the country. What happens is that they are caught among informal people, not near a formal mining company as it is Poderosa. And they grab each other informally and kill each other. They bury themselves there and nobody knows about it. And nothing has been said, nothing at all has been reported in the media. But this really, it's headlined, and you mentioned it, because drug trafficking generates cash, doesn't it?
That cash comes to the countries through Peru, through the VRM. Gold is bought and the gold is exported, and they receive the remittances in the banks.
So they have definitely set up a money laundering circuit that puts much more pressure now on the purchase of gold. And as the gold is closer to the sites known as the mines, what they are doing now is these informal miners, instead of scratching for sites where there is little gold grade, are leaving, daring to get into the mines, right?
And this has really been serious, hasn't it? Because it has been a terrorist act.
Drop a tire with explosives to kill the nine vigilantes.
Ivan, put us in context of what has happened, because as Wilson says, this is not new, these problems and these confrontations, but they have been going on for some time. What is the objective of these criminal groups, combined with informal mining, to take control of Patas? And also, well, the Minister of the Interior has announced that he is going to set up a post, right, police post in Patas. What could be or what should be the strategy to be taken into account so that these events no longer occur?
Look, there is one thing that is important to be able to say, and thank you very much for the invitation. The issue is that a state of emergency already existed in the area. That is to say, successive states of emergency have been issued. On November 15, a new extension of the state of emergency took place. But basically, the state of emergency was not understood by absolutely nobody, to such an extent that there is currently no police post in Patas. And obviously, you are not going to find the police in the tunnels. Obviously, you are not going to find them there. It is going to be very difficult. The area has become a no man's land.
It is an area that, unlike, for example, La Cobamba, where there are artisanal miners in the process of formalization, including artisanal miners who collaborate with mining companies.
Unlike that, in Patas, it is no man's land. In Patas right now, there are about 830 records in the rainfall. This is an important issue that we are going to look at as well. But basically, they are all informal, and many of them are already outdated. Imagine, an informal miner in the registry in rainfall has around 1,000 up to 1,000 hectares. So imagine the amount of land that exists in the hands of informal mining, illegal slash, which is also another important issue. So what is the strategy? The strategy not only has to be a police strategy, let's say judicial and fiscal, not only that, but there must also be a strategy for the formalization of artisanal mining or mining in the process of formalization, and that still does not exist, and that is evidently a failure.
Hey, Wilson, as Ivan explains, the problem is that all of a sudden it's getting bigger. The term of the rainfall and is being extended, and it is assumed that in that period, most of them should already be formalized, the largest amount. The truth, and as Ivan translates it well, the largest number of those who have registered that have almost the same levels of operability that any formal company would have. However, they fail to register. And that's where I was asking you earlier, that I would like you to complement the concept of your security perspective, of course, because there is this political element. The Congress, for example, already has 3 projects to expand the rainfall, to extend the rainfall deadline. Iri Poderosa, as Miguel Zavala recalled, how do you see the issue?
Look, the rainfall issue, this one, has been explained very well here by the gentleman who accompanies me, but it is a problem. And there is great pressure on Congress to continue to expand and expand and expand and expand, and I think that's the basis of this whole problem. However, what is happening in Patas is that it is a very rich gold area, very, very rich in gold. So the law of the Patas area, right, that you mentioned, the informal and illegal gold mining industry has generated a series of businesses around gold extraction. White slavery and also robberies. They bring security people to take care of the money they are making, ore or gold, and those security people then get rid of the people who hired them, and they are the ones who start to exploit the gold. But definitely in Patas, as has been well said, is an area that is declared in emergency, and there is absolutely no indicator that it is declared in emergency. There are no military controls, there are no police controls. The armed forces, this one, you don't see them. The police have very few resources, but the national police is definitely overextended throughout the country. It has, in my opinion, an analysis, because I have worked in CONOSEC with the government, this very, very obsolete old equipment, it does not have the ability to mobilize quickly, because this should have been responded to quickly, perhaps with a heliborne operation.
Intelligence equipment for prevention.
Previous intelligence teams, interception, because there are communications between them. That whole area should be absolutely controlled by the police or the armed forces as well, but definitely no, it is not. So the controls must be effectively carried out as they were in the area in previous emergencies, right, at the time of terrorism.
Ivan, the rainfall issue is also very much related to the role that the Congress of the Republic is playing, has played and is playing, right, making extensions in general. We can definitely see the failure that mining formalization has had in our country. And the executive right has said, with Premier Otarola, the Minister of Energy and Mines, Oscar Vera Gargurevich has said that they will review the rainfall issue. In your experience, what should be reviewed, what should be changed, or should we, I don't know, suddenly see another strategy for the issue of mining formalization?
Look, the problem is various, it's quite complex, very difficult. Look, first of all, there is a difference between informal mining and illegal mining. This is important, and for that, rainfall is fundamental. Rainfall is supposed to be the beginning of the formalization process. The start of the formalization process then falls off when they don't have one, for example, the environmental management tools that are required of them. Suddenly they do not have documentation and SUNAT, RUC, in short. But there is also something else that is fundamental. It is already a technical issue because many of the concessions, many of these informal miners have concessions over concessions. They are also located on formal mining concessions, as is the case, for example, the mining companies in Las Bambas, or mining companies, for example, of what happened in Los Chancas, right? That is, they are about that. Reinfo has failed because it is assumed that when you enter Reinfo, you are already a miner, you are no longer an informal miner, but a miner in the process of formalization. And when there is an interdiction, they are going to say to you, no, I am not informal. No, I am not informal, I am a miner in the process of formalization. But that doesn't say anything at the end, because in the end, you do not have the environmental management documents, you do not have the RUC, and you do not have the concessions. That is to say, it is very difficult. The problem here is a technical problem, it is a social problem, it is a political problem, but it is also a fundamental problem, which is the problem of attacking the chains. in this case, illegal mining. And there are three fundamental chains in illegal mining. A chain of corruption. The corruption chain would not exist without, for example, the regional governments, the money laundering chain, and the logistics chain, as Wilson rightly pointed out. The logistics chain that gives you innumerable things, innumerable explosives. In short, if you don't attack those three chains, if you do not attack these three chains, it is impossible for illegal mining to disappear.
Well, thank you very much, Wilson, and thank you very much, Ivan, for being with us. They really shed a lot of light on this subject, and I will stick with what you have pointed out, Ivan, that it is indeed a complex issue where we do not have 1 + 1 is 2 solutions. We must, as Wilson rightly said, also generate transversal actions that represent an element and a tool in which the state must be the first protagonist. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to complement a small topic.
But very, very briefly, because
the national police should be given much more resources.
You are right.
They do a great job.
Totally agree.
We can't go on like that, can we?
Well, thank you very much. Wilson Gómez Barrios, founder of the National Society of Security Companies, and Iván Arenas, a political analyst and mining communication specialist. Arenas, a political analyst and specialist in mining communication. Hey, Gabriela, do you have something to tell us?
Thank you very much.
Expomina Peru from September 11th to 13th, 2024 will be chaired by Luis Executive Vice President of Goldfields Las Americas and integrated by an advisory board of recognized mining leaders who will support us in achieving a magnificent organization. Highlight your brand through the different sponsorships we offer at Expomina Peru. Networking opportunities, participation in exclusive activities, promotion in the media, among other important benefits. For more information, please visit our website, www.expominaperu.com.
And with this interview, Miguel, we come to the end of the program. To highlight what we have discussed with Guillermo Shinno, Wilson Gómez Barrios, and Iván Arenas, the company has been forced to deal with this dramatic issue, which we have already addressed on previous occasions regarding insecurity, regarding the deaths that occurred in the Unidad Minera Poderosa.
That's right, Cesar. Well, and we expect the government to take concrete actions, not only with the Patas issue, but also what is happening in Madre de Dios, in Puno, in many regions where it's going strong. Crime, criminality, and, obviously illegal mining, which has grown enormously in recent times.
And the exercise of the state to preserve sovereignty, and above all, the rule of law, which not only corresponds to the executive branch, but also, as the Minister of Energy and Mines has denounced, Oscar Vera Gargurevich this week to the Attorney General's office, to the judiciary, which many times release these criminals with excessive promptness. My name is Cesar Campos. Together with Miguel Zavala, we have conducted the program Rumbo Minero. Don't move, because Peru Construye is coming.